3 in the morning, blizzard outside, the stove is going, but something's wrong. I'm staring at a number on the carbon monoxide detector and it's climbing. Oh. It started as a routine build trip, it didn't stay that way. Hang tight for a moment while I unload the machine and round up all the little fiddle bits that seem to multiply every time I come out here. Heading into the bush isn't like running to the corner store. If you forget something, the store is about 50 kilometers that way and mostly made of spruce trees. Once we're rolling down the trail, I'll get you caught up. Every trip out here starts the same way. A machine, a trail through the bush, and a long ride back into a place that never gives anything easily. This land has a way of testing you. The cold, the distance, the endless list of things that still need to be built. But that's also the reason we keep coming back. Because out here, every small bit of progress feels earned. A couple days ago, this place went through a strange warm spell. Rain in the middle of winter, temperatures above freezing. I waited it out. Now the cold has returned and the snow is packed down and the trail has turned to ice. Perfect conditions to head back in. And this trip matters. There's a lot to do. Today we start working on the loft, and if everything goes right, we'll finally get the fireplace closer to being finished. But winter never makes things easy out here. There's heavy snowfall in the forecast over the next couple days, and once that hits, it changes everything. That's life in the bush. You're always racing the weather. But that's also part of what makes this place special. Because when the work finally comes together and something you built with your own hands starts to take shape, there's nothing quite like it. And if you're new here, welcome. This whole project is about building something real in a place that doesn't make it easy. And along the way, this community has become a huge part of that journey. So in this episode, I'm trying something new. Throughout the video, I'll be dropping a few questions, and if you know the answer, jump into the comments and help somebody out. Some of the best explanations I see each week actually come from you guys. In fact, one viewer recently explained why I can't just back the Alpine sled right up to the porch. Something a lot of people have been asking. So this week I'm going to heart the best answers I see in the comments. And a few of those might even end up getting one of the new off-grid engineering shirts when they launch. because this project has never really been a solo effort. It's all about us figuring it out together. Alright, let's get to the cabin. Last time I headed out of here, I had to pull the whole electrical system apart and haul the battery back south with me. Did a bit of testing, a few upgrades, the usual tinkering that seems to follow any off-grid setup. One thing I discovered is that the inverter has a bit of a mischievous streak. Even with the switch off and the screen dark, the thing still likes to wake up now and then start drawing power like it's got somewhere important to be. Now out here, every amp hour is hauled in, stored up, and guarded like winter firewood. That sort of behavior just won't do. Proper 200 amp disconnect switch. Nothing fancy, just a big honest mechanical switch that lets me shut the whole system down tight when I leave. No guessing, no phantom loads, no electrical gremlins sneaking around while I'm gone. Flip the switch and the whole works goes to sleep. Sometimes the best piece of technology is still just a good solid switch. Now here's a question for the sharp-eyed among you. Why am I heating the cabin with this little diesel heater? This girl's a thirsty one. One rule I try to follow out here is always top up the tank when you get back out. A trip in and out usually burns about half a tank, so I start the next run with a full one. I also keep a spare jerry can of 2-stroke on the sled just in case. Never had to use it yet, but it's there if I need it. Some people commented about eye bolts. There's rings that it needs for. Hello, how are you?
Hey, Drew. I'm doing. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I'm here in the cabin, working away. Nice weather outside, and but we're supposed to get nasty kind of snow coming in tomorrow. And I heard on the radio there were like 20 centimeters of snow. So that'll make tomorrow interesting. That's the 2 bundles. So we're doing good. I heated this with a diesel heater. I put it in that box and it gets ripping hot. And then you just open the can and enjoy. Corn. Corn is like nature's candy. Like apples. Apples are like nature's candy. So is corn a vegetable? That's a question. It's a good question. Corn is a grass. So it's a cereal. Wheat, oat, corn, they kind of grow up, and corn's one of those ones that kind of you don't think is a grass, but it is. I'd have to say it's a fruit. The ear of corn is the fruit. I don't know. The cereal part makes it a wild card. Answer in the comments. That was delicious. That felt like this. Even drinking that juice, it just felt like candy. It's probably not healthy for you. Oh, they put sugar in it. There's sugar in the ingredients. That's not good. I'm going to have to boycott the canned corn. I thought this is so delicious, but somebody's put sugar in it. Oh, these things are getting worn. Nicked it with the chainsaw there. Also, these things snapped off. That was on the trip out to the field. The hot. It's not spinning very fast, but there's just no wind. But there's a draft. Let's say a draft, a breeze. But it's spinning the wind turbine a little bit. I had that second controller for a long time because I suspected something happened to the first controller. Could have got hit by lightning or something. It stopped acting the same, and it actually started drawing current. And if I hooked a battery up to it, I could see current flowing into the battery without anything happening. Like, they all had a bit of current going in, but it was a lot. I don't know if I can trust this meter. Alright, so it's showing 0 watts right now. Okay, well, I'll see you back here tomorrow. Time to build the loft. What do you think? Like, the load guy at the mill says 600 to 700 pounds worth of lumber. Do you think the Alpine can haul that on a sleigh in one go?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. She would haul that in as far as that goes. that's what it's designed for, is that kind of stuff. If you had a regular machine trying to do what we've been doing, you know, I've been keeping my eye open, and I kind of thought, maybe we should just grab another one if we had the chance. I kind of missed out. I missed out on a couple there. Anyway.
Now this is the sort of thing you want to think through before you start moving lumber around. The most important thing is that the sleigh needs to be up on top of that snowbank before it gets loaded. Once it's full of lumber, that thing isn't going anywhere except behind the snow machine. And ideally, the snow machine would already be hooked up when the loading happens, because once that sleigh is full, trying to manhandle it to line up with the hitch is going to feel a lot like pushing a stubborn cow uphill. The snowmobile is still sitting on the trailer, and I can't unload it with all this lumber piled on there, because the trailer tilts back. If I did that, the whole load would slide off like a deck of cards. So, order of operation matters. First get the sleigh up on the bank, then load the lumber, then I get the snow machine off and somehow hook it up to the sleigh. Just another one of those logistical puzzles that seem to appear whenever you're trying to do things off-grid. Nice thing about these rough cut boards from the mill is the friction. They're rough enough that once you strap the bundle together, the whole pile behaves itself, even if it's bouncing down the trail behind the sled. That's lumber that still remembers it used to be a tree. Big box store lumber though, that stuff's plain so smooth the moment you hit a few bumps on the trail, the board starts sliding around like a bunch of teenagers at a school dance. I don't know. Little layer of powder on top of ice, but still it's a lot for her to pull for sure. Extra weight's gonna help. So twice I've had bins fall off. Why do you think they fall off? What is the underlying reason? Answer in the comments.
This is the hardest part here, climbing this hill.
Clean inside, don't got any issue. Let's give Trevor a little time to wrestle with this. We'll watch him work away here while we talk about a few things. I was tinkering around in the shop a while back and ended up using my laser engraver to burn some stainless steel screens with the Off Grid Engineering logo. Then I used those to print a few t-shirts right there in the shop. And it turns out quite a few people are interested in getting their hands on one. So we're working on a really simple way for people to get good quality off-grid engineering shirts, hats, mugs, that sort of thing, for an old school reasonable price. That's in the works now, and hopefully within the next month or so we'll have that available. When it's ready, I'll be sure to let everybody know. We also want to get into the habit of giving some of that stuff away. In a past video we did a little contest about how warm the diesel heater would get the cabin. Well, it turns out the answer is not very warm at all. It didn't even get the place above freezing. A lot of that depends on the wind outside, because right now this cabin is basically a sieve. It's getting better, but there are still plenty of gaps, especially in the roof boards. So what I'm going to do is go through those comments and randomly pick 2 people who guessed below freezing, and I'll reach out and send them a shirt once those are available. Now in this episode, we're going to try something a little different. I really enjoy reading the comments and answering questions, but as an educator I also don't like giving half answers. The trouble is, there just isn't enough time to make a video every week and then spend days writing detailed replies. So I'm asking the community to help out a little. If you see somebody asking a question in the comments and you know the answer, jump in and help them out. A lot of questions come from people who are new to the channel and don't know the history yet. Meanwhile, some of you have been around since the beginning and know exactly why certain things are done the way they are. And I've already seen some people doing a fantastic job of that. So in this video, I've deliberately asked a few questions along the way. If you answer those, or if you jump in and help somebody else with a thoughtful answer, I'll go through the comments in about a week after the video is posted. I'll heart the answers that really nail it, and from those I'll randomly pick a couple people to receive a t-shirt. I'm also going to pick a couple people who ask really thoughtful questions. Not ones that would be obvious if you watch the whole series, but questions that show you're thinking deeply about the project. So ask your questions and help each other out. That's really how this community grows. And if we can spread some of that knowledge around, it also helps us to keep the videos coming each week, which is the goal. And we'll keep pouring our hearts into making the best content we can. One other thing I wanted to mention, we had a really wonderful live stream on Patreon last weekend. Becca and I ended up talking with everyone for almost 3 hours. We even had a phone line where people could call in and ask questions live. It was a really great experience. Those live streams are open to anyone with a Patreon account, even free members. So if you'd like to join in next time, just head over to Patreon, sign up for a free account, and you'll get notified when the next one happens. We don't post the live streams here on the main YouTube channel because not everybody's interested in that kind of thing. But for the people who are, it's a really fun way to connect with the community. Alright, looks like he survived. Let's get back to it. Now, if I were working like a contractor on a regular job site, I'd probably just run the vapor barrier across this entire wall and be done with it. But out here, you gotta juggle priorities a little differently. Sometimes the goal isn't finishing the whole job, it's just doing enough of the job to keep the next part moving forward. In this case, what I really need to do is get the vapor barrier past the stove area so I can keep working on the stove installation. That's priority today. I notice sometimes in the comments people ask things like, why didn't you just finish all the vapor barrier? Or why not insulate the roof first, since that's where most of the heat escapes? And those are fair questions. But the order we build things out here isn't always dictated by thermodynamics or textbook construction. It's dictated by what keeps the project moving forward with the time, weather, and materials we have on hand. So while it might look a little backwards from the outside, there's always method to the madness. Now, a number of years ago, I got into machining granite. And honestly, there's probably nothing that captures the spirit of this project better than that. A little bit of new school engineering mixed with old school materials. I was machining spheres, cones, bowls, all sorts of geometric shapes. Building machines that could polish the stone until it had that deep glossy look, almost like it was permanently wet. And for some of those projects, I was working with granite tile. Over the years, I ended up with a whole collection of leftover pieces. Different colors, different patterns, just a bit of a mishmash. So Becca and I sat down at the shop one day and started laying them out on the floor, trying to figure out how we could turn that pile of stone into a pattern that could work for the hearth. Something that would have beauty to it while keeping that natural stone feel. One thing I forgot to bring back after taking the electrical system south for testing was a 100 amp charger. So without that, all I had on hand was this sorry little 6 amp battery charger. I fired up the generator, hooked the charger to the battery, and started watching the app. And that's when things got interesting. Every time I turned the charger on, the battery current went up, which means instead of charging the battery, it was actually losing more power. Then I pulled the alligator clips off, the current dropped back down again. So somehow, the moment I connected the charger, things got worse, not better. Now there's a question for the sharp-eyed among you. What mistake did I make here? Couldn't figure out where my charger wasn't working. Found there's no power getting to the end of the outlet. This is not the way to deal with something like this, but when you're out here, your battery's dead. When you're in the bush, it's always about bush fixes, I suppose. Of course. I'm a little nervous. I don't like how much snow is coming up. I can't see the trail anymore. And when you go back, you want to stay in the same track. So you punch through. Well, at least the battery's charging now. Yep.
You don't keep it. Keep it this way. Don't keep it now. Just try to keep safe and quiet. And then you have all day in front of you to get out of it. Right now, as I said, always, like right now, you need to focus on tonight.
Yeah.
The ball and safe and yeah. Because I think it's very possible that you have a sleeping bag?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just, not feeling the best.
Yeah.
I haven't eaten anything all day. I just had like a coffee in the morning.
Ouch.
Ports, but have we had any official statement from the Iranians on this exactly, whether it's today or in the lead up to these events happening?
Not only those who went to fight, civilians.
One thing I discovered pretty quickly when cutting shiplap is that the boards are meant to fit together, but rough cut lumber isn't exactly known for being dimensionally accurate. Some boards are thicker, some thinner, some are a little wider, and some are a little narrower. You can't just set the saw once and expect everything to fit perfectly. What I found works best is to keep cutting boards and measuring. Make small adjustments and try again. Once you dial it in, you've got a much better chance that the rest of the boards will go together without any unpleasant surprises. The other thing to watch for when ripping these boards is surface ice. A lot of this lumber was stored outside in the yard at the mill, so a lot of the boards come in with a layer of ice on them. Snow isn't usually a problem, it just brushes away, but ice is another story. If you try and run a board with ice on it through the saw, it can throw off the cut and your measurements won't come out right. So before ripping the boards, it's worth taking a moment to knock off the ice and start with a clean surface. That scared me. What the freak is going on? Working out here in the snow sometimes feels a bit like standing on the dark side of the moon. The light from the clearing spills out across the ground, and beyond that, the landscape just fades into darkness. The snow rolls away in quiet white hills you can barely see, stretching farther than the lantern light can reach. There's no sounds out here but the blowing wind, and it's a little bit eerie. It's the sort of place where your imagination can start to wander if you let it, so it's usually best to keep your mind on the work and your eyes on the next board. If you haven't been paying attention in the background, the generator's been stalling out every few minutes. And I'm out here trying just about everything, adjusting the choke, checking the air filter, playing with the throttle and the idle, and none of it seems to make a difference. Now the slightly embarrassing part of the story is that Mikey, the concrete guy, actually set me up with another generator. A good one. Only trouble is, it's sitting about 5 miles away in the van. So when Mikey watches this episode, he'll probably be yelling at the screen right now, which is a fair criticism. So it's negative 10 degrees Celsius out, which is pretty warm. .30 in the morning. Well, at least it's done. I wanted that area clear because if I got to get through with the snow machine, I got the one track. So that's one cut. They just need the second cut to get the corners out. So those are shiplap. Those are the boards for the loft. So good work. Time to go inside and see if we can settle down. So I've never seen this stove this hot. The indicator there is in the center. It's usually always at the bottom. There's a wind outside, and it's drawing really strong, and it's pulling air into the fireplace. Every once in a while the wind turns and I get a downdraft. It wants to blow that back into the cabin. I don't know what time it is. I woke up, it did burn down. I threw some wood in, and now I'm in this situation, which is not good. The stove's throwing off major heat. If I see the downdraft come, the flames die down, and I try and close the vent right away, but it finds a way to get the smoke into the when you start to see it slow down, that's a warning sign. Oh, see right there. Oh. Oh. Somewhere along the way I managed to misplace the smoke detector. I must have taken it down at some point, set it aside, and now of course I can't find it. The carbon monoxide detector is still here though, and interestingly enough, it's showing something I've never seen before. 10 parts per million of carbon monoxide. Now that's not an emergency level, but it's enough to tell you something important. Those downdraft risks, they're real. When the wind shifts the wrong way, it can push the flue gas back down the chimney and into the cabin, which is exactly the sort of thing these detectors are meant to catch. Okay. Well, I was able to come up with a bit of a bush fix for the generator. After poking around for a while, I finally figured out what the actual problem was, and managed to rig up a solution that seems to have it running flawlessly again. Now if you're clever enough to figure out what the original problem was, and lucky enough to guess how I solved it out here with the tools on hand, go ahead and leave your answer in the comments below. I'm curious to see who gets it right. Didn't do the back side of this one. Now I suppose if the loft had a keystone, this would be it. This fresh pine, it's amazing. It smells like, this whole place just smells of fresh pine. Partly because it's drying, but also partly because, you know, cutting it like that. But it's crazy. It's just got this beautiful, beautiful smell. I've always wanted to share it with Becca, but she's never been here when I brought in a whole bunch of wet lumber. One more board. Oh. Definitely a lifestyle upgrade. It just goes to show how much work you can get done when you settle in and you don't have to pack up and leave. I think this was probably the most productive day I've had out here so far, certainly the most accomplished. Although I'll tell you, cutting all those boards for shiplap is no small job. It's pretty grueling work. Now I'm worried about the ride out. The powder out there is really deep and the Alpine has a bit of personality in that kind of snow. The nose of the sled is basically one giant ski, so it likes to ride up on top of the powder. But when that happens, the little ski up front, the one that's supposed to steer, doesn't actually do much of anything. Which means it can turn into a long wrestling match just to get pointed in the right direction. That's one of the reasons I decided not to head out last night. Becca's advice was pretty simple. Stay put, stay warm, and tackle the trail in the daylight. And that was probably the wiser course. Can't tell you how happy I am to see the neighbors have been out on the trail. Packed powder instead of loose fluff, That's about as close to luxury as it gets out here. If you're addicted to city life, plugged into the matrix, coming out here and finding your vehicle buried in a snowbank might feel a little demoralizing. But out here in the bush, you just grab the shovel you keep in the back of your vehicle for exactly this reason, and you get to work. And somewhere along the way, you realize something. You're not paying for a ridiculous gym membership. You're working your body and your mind the way people have for thousands of years, the way our ancestors did. Out here, you take the good with the bad. You shovel the snow, you fix the problems, and you just shrug and say, well, that's life. And strangely enough, you start to enjoy all of it. You appreciate the good days and you appreciate the hard ones too. Because when you look back at it, this isn't really a daily struggle. It's a challenge, an adventure. And the struggle is exactly what makes it worthwhile. Instead of pumping weights in a gym somewhere, you get to see the results of your work right in front of you, the fruits of your labor. And honestly, you can't really ask for much more than that. Growing this channel and putting out good content every week is a real challenge. Last week, Marcia left a comment that meant a lot. She wrote, "I've watched all your videos since the beginning and I've shared them with friends and family who enjoy them too. Thanks for that, Marcia. It highlights something important. A lot of you are sharing these videos with the people in your lives who might enjoy them as well. And honestly, that's the greatest compliment this channel can receive. If you know someone who might appreciate what we're doing out here, consider sharing the channel with them. Our goal is to grow enough that we can eventually hire an editor and reliably bring you high quality content every week. So thanks again, Marcia, and thanks to all of you watching and sharing. It means more than you know."